Yes, yes. Welcome once again, everyone. Cannabis News with Joe Klare. It is November 13th, 2018. Presented as always by the Marijuana Times. Check us out at marijuanatimes.org. Click the video tab at marijuanatimes.org to find the show. There's also a bunch of great stories there, a bunch of great writers, social media links, and more. Today, we're talking about Michigan's recreational marijuana tax. We also got two stories out of Mexico. One is fun. One is more, nuts and bolts, practical stuff. But we like to mix it up here. All of that coming up. But first, of course, Cannabis News is brought to you by Natureside, nature-side.com, and their organic, all-natural pesticides. If you live in a state and you're growing cannabis in the state where it's legal to do so, you don't want to use banned pesticides. You want to be regulatory compliant. You want to grow safe and poison-free. Of course, you can do all of this with the organic, all-natural pesticides at Natureside, nature-side.com, a proud sponsor of Cannabis News. This first story from marijuanatimes.org by yours truly. Is Michigan's marijuana tax too low? Basically, this is a rebuttal to a Detroit Free Press columnist, Mitch Albom, who apparently opines on many different things. I remember him as a sports guy. He used to be on a show called Sports Reporters on ESPN. I guess they still do that show. I have no idea. But I'm talking about old school sports reporters with Bob Ryan and Mike Lupica and Mitch Albom and some other people whose names escape me, but they're all great. You don't argue about sports, but I guess Mitch Albom, he branches out and he does other things. He also did the, I want to say Tuesdays with Maury, but that may not have been him, but I think it was. I shouldn't even mention it because I'm not sure. In any case, Mitch Albom wrote a column for the Detroit Free Press, and basically he took marijuana legalization to task in Michigan for one specific reason. He's for everything else, baby boomer, weed, do what you want, don't put people in jail for it. That's great. He says the marijuana tax in Michigan that was passed in Proposal 1 is only 10%. He says that is too low. He says dealers in Michigan, meaning legal retail shops, but it's cooler, I guess, if you say dealers because of the associations that come with that, which is ironic, and we'll talk about that in a second. Dealers in Michigan would only have to shoulder a 10% excise tax plus collect our normal 6% sales tax, which is what you would pay if you buy a toaster at Best Buy. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but again, it's ironic that you should mention buying a toaster at Best Buy. Again, we'll get to that in a second. I'm not going to get into whether or not, because he clearly thinks that the state government is a better place to put that money, the money made from cannabis sales. He clearly thinks the government is more efficient in spending and allocating that money than the private market would be. I disagree, but that's not my beef here with his reasoning. But his reasoning is very grade school level when it comes to economics. Because this is what he says, quote, "Remember, collecting the lowest taxes doesn't mean you'll get the lowest prices. Economics might suggest that." Yeah, it does, and I'll tell you why in a second. "But greed is not subject to rules. After all, the state won't be selling you marijuana. Private businesses will. They can charge what they want." Can they really? Can they really? Can a retail shop that sells cannabis in Michigan, they can charge what they want? Do you know how dumb that is? Do you know how first grade level economics ignorant that is? Let's go back to the toaster at Best Buy. If businesses can charge whatever they want because they're so greedy, Best Buy would charge you $800 for a toaster that it costs $4 to make in China. Why don't they? Is it because Best Buy loves you and wants you to have a cheap toaster? Does Walmart sell cheap blenders because their executives just get together and try to figure out a way to make your life easier? No. Greed is what drives this. It is subject to rules. Greed is subject to rules when there's competition. Competition improves quality, efficiency. It puts downward pressure on prices. That's why Best Buy can't charge you $800 for a toaster, because you go to Walmart and buy the same toaster for $40. That's not the way economics works. They can't charge whatever they want because greed. I'm sorry, but that's dumb. That's just dumb. The example I use in the story is, one place charges $12 a gram, this other place charges $10 a gram, this other place charges $8 a gram. Eventually, those higher prices are going to come down to meet the lower prices because that's how people make money. That's how Walmart makes money. They'll make money charging $800 for a blender. They make money by selling 800 cheap blenders in 45 minutes. They make their money through volume. Same thing with Amazon and all the other big companies around the world, especially retail companies, which is what we're talking about here. This is so stupid. And the very thing that would bring down prices is more investment, more competition, more retail shops in Michigan. The more investment that comes in, the more competition there'll be, the lower the prices will be. Mitch Albom wants to raise taxes, drive away the investment, make competition less of a matter and less of a factor in Michigan, which will keep prices high. So the very thing he's complaining about is, well, really, this is the second thing he's complaining about. The first thing he's complaining about is that there's not enough taxes. There's got to be more. He says, one part in the article, he says, oh, well, for Christ's sakes, the gas taxes are higher than this. And he says, well, and gas is an essential thing. Yeah, gas taxes are higher than most taxes around the country. So what? There's not even an argument. But the way he wants to do things, let's say there's a 30% excise tax, that's going to drive investment away from Michigan. Because guess what? As a practical matter, and someday, I know, it'll all be legal businesses, and they'll all be competing against each other. The way Walmart competes with Target, the way they compete with Kroger or whoever. That's the way it'll be one day. But as a practical matter, right now, if you open a legal retail business somewhere in the United States, your competition is the black market. Your competition, as Russ Belville likes to say, is the guy. You know, the guy. I need some weed. I'm going to call the guy. I'm going to go to the guy's house. Sometimes it's the girl, but let's face it, most times it's the guy. That's the competition for a legal retail marijuana shop in Michigan. And are they going to better be able to compete with 10% excise tax or a 30% excise tax? It's going to be 10% because they'll be able to charge lower prices. If they can't undercut the black market remains and legal businesses fail. But no, Mitch Albom wants to jack up prices, drive away investment, keep the black market intact, keep prices high, because greed, something. They can charge whatever they want. No, they can't. It's awful. I know I'm long-winded, but it took 50 seconds to dismantle that. It's horrific reasoning. But that's, he gets paid for it, so, good for him. I guess in the end, he's the real winner in all this. Because the Detroit Free Press paid him a lot of money to say those things. To show his absolute ignorance of basic economics when there's competition in a market. Anyway, now to the Mexico stories. The first one, the fun one. Politician blaster for, quote, smoking weed and listening to the Doors tweet. This from Daily Star out of the UK. Nay Salvatore, a member of parliament in Mexico, tweeted, quote, when marijuana is legal, you are all invited to smoke in my house listening to the Doors. Who's up for it? Now, on the surface, that seems like, a cute, funny little thing, not malicious or violent sounding or offensive in any way. But as you know on Twitter, well, that's not the way things go. As you know in some in the press, well, they take tweets and they create whole stories about them. I think it's lazy. Am I lazy for commenting on it? Maybe so. But I like to think that I'm bringing the whole story back into the realm of journalistic integrity, as I am known to do. At least that's what I tell myself. In any case, some users blasted her and said she was vulgar. What? Saying a joke, talking about a joke, and saying, hey, when weed's legal, come over to my house, we'll smoke some weed and listen to the Doors. What's vulgar about that? Anyway, others jokingly accepted the invitation to smoke cannabis. One commented, those mediocre politicians such as Nay Salvatore with their ridiculous comments are destroying the credibility of a healthy political party. Wow. All that from a Doors and weed joke. It's crazy. By the way, one commented, it's not a story. I'm sorry. That's not a story. One person tweeted. Everybody has an opinion now, and everybody can put their opinion directly to the person who they want to talk to. It used to be like that. Celebrities, for example. Back in the day, celebrities, you didn't know where they were. You didn't know where their house was. You couldn't call them up. You might be able to send them some fan mail. That was it. Now a celebrity says something, you can at them. And even on Facebook, you're in the group of comments and you're commenting with other people. On Twitter, even though your replies end up, below the tweet, when you're tweeting at them, you're tweeting what they said. You're normally not looking at what other people are saying. You're tweeting at that person about what they said. And I guess some people think, well, that's a news story. Because one person commented that she's ridiculous for her joke. I mean, she's no George Carlin, but God, just calm down. Just calm down. But everybody has their opinion. Everybody's outraged. Everybody can tell everybody else about it. That's social media. I don't know. I gotta be honest. I'm on Twitter less and less all the time. Facebook even less. I don't want to say toxic because that's a very overused word for social media, but it borders on that sometimes. It's just, oh. And I like this. Like this. I always saw that tweet and said, that's funny. Showing the doors. Kid smokes some weed with some doors. That's nice. You know, it's just politician breaking up a monotony of the day. But no, how dare you? You sullied the integrity of whatever political party you're a member of in Mexico. She tweeted again saying, calm down, all those who are getting as hot as irons. Okay, well, I'll let it go. We live in a country of freedom and rights. Get used to it. The double morality in politics is on its way out like its followers. I don't know. I guess that's there's some significance. I'm not sure. But and that's the only one. That's the only one that they reference. One person commented, like, I don't know if that's the only tweet that has something negative to say about her, because it said politician blasted for smoking weed and listening to the Doors tweet. Not really. There's this one guy who commented, "Oh, that's bad. Don't do that." Social media has really infected journalism and news, and it's just, anyway, good for her. I hope that's a real invitation. I would like to do the show from Nay Salvatore's house in Mexico. We're smoking weed. We're listening to the Doors. We're talking about cannabis news. Probably won't happen, but is that a horrific thing? It's nice you said, hey, marijuana's legal. Come to my house and I'm going to stick a turkey fork in your neck. Then I would have been like, hey, whoa, calm down a little bit. That's a little much, don't you think? God, what's wrong about listening to the Doors and smoking weed? I don't know. In any case, it's the last story from MarijuanaMoment.net. Key Mexican senator introduces bill to legalize marijuana sales. A senator from Mexico's ruling party, who will soon be a key member of the incoming president's cabinet, filed a bill to legalize marijuana production and sales. So there you go. Not only are they introducing it, then they're going to be able to go to the president's cabinet and, I guess, fight for it. I guess that's how things work down in Mexico. I'm not sure. Move comes less than 1 week after the Mexican Supreme Court struck down the country's criminalization of cannabis. Basically now the legislature in Mexico has 90 days to either let that stand as basically the law of the land, or they can use that time more constructively and put together kind of a regulation, scheme, if you want to call it that, to govern legal marijuana in Mexico. Under the proposed general law for the regulation and control of marijuana, introduced by Olga Sanchez Cordero, a senator who is expected to become Interior Secretary in the government of President-elect Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, it will be legal to use, possess, cultivate, and sell cannabis subject to regulation. The legislation would create a new institute for the regulation and control of cannabis under the country's Ministry of Health, which would issue licenses and permits for marijuana cultivation, harvesting, transportation, processing, and sales. Individual will be allowed to grow up to 20 mature cannabis plants for personal consumption, but they would be limited to producing 480 grams of marijuana per year, and would have to register plants with regulators. So, legalization moving along in Mexico, but don't tweet jokes about it, because the Daily Mail will write a story about one person who tweeted at you and they did not like it. I don't know. Maybe that's the business I need to be in. I'm going to write the Daily Mail. So you got any spots for writers? I can do that. Come on. I'll go down, find one tweet, says, I don't like what you tweeted. And I can write, this person got destroyed by Twitter because of what they tweeted. And money, ka-ching. Oh, it's a great plan. Or at least to write down the ideas I have during this show. But alas, I do not. That's been Cannabis News for today. Thank you to Natureside, nature-side.com, and their organic, all-natural pesticides. Make sure you check out the Marijuana Times at marijuanatimes.org. You can also search us on Apple Podcasts for the audio-only version of the show. Thanks for watching, listening, and sharing. And we'll see you next time right here on Cannabis News.